The night air was cool inside the small shelter. A faint blue glow from the alien sky filtered through cracks in the roof. Daniel sat quietly by the old fire pit, staring at the dying embers. He had been here for a month now, sharing this place with Lyra, the alien girl he had rescued, yet not a single word had been spoken between them about what lay heavy in the silence. Lyra moved softly behind him. Her small steps were careful, almost hesitant. She carried a piece of cloth she used as a blanket. Her eyes followed Daniel as he sharpened a blade on a rock. She had watched him do this many times. The sound was steady, comforting, but also distant. Daniel always kept himself busy, always keeping a safe distance from her. It had been one full month, 30 long days of sharing food, water, and shelter. They had slept under the same roof, breathed the same air. Yet Daniel never once crossed into her space. He treated her with respect, but also with distance. That distance gnawed at her heart. Lyra had lived her whole life surrounded by those who wanted something from her. To her people, she had been little more than a tool. But Daniel was different. He gave her food without asking for anything. He built walls to keep her safe. He fought for her, but he never touched her, never looked at her the way other males once did. At first, she felt relief. His silence was strange but safe. Yet as days passed, a new feeling grew inside her. Was she not good enough for him? Was she unwanted? That night, the silence grew heavier. The wind howled softly through the cracks. Daniel placed his blade aside and leaned back against the wall. His eyes closed for a moment. Exhaustion clear on his face, Lyra watched him closely. Her chest tightened. She had to ask. She had to know. Why was he holding back? Why was he acting as though she was untouchable? She stepped forward, the blanket slipping from her shoulders. The sound of her movement made Daniel open his eyes. He looked at her, surprised. The glow of the fire lit her face, showing her wide, questioning eyes. "Daniel," she whispered. Her voice was fragile, trembling like a thin thread ready to break. "It has been a month." She swallowed hard. Her throat felt dry. "Why have you not taken me?" Daniel froze. His heart thudded in his chest. He had expected danger from raiders, storms, or hunger, but not this. He stared at her, unsure what to say. Her question cut through the air like a blade. Lyra's hands trembled. She felt shame for asking, but also anger. Her people had taught her that a month together was enough, that a male would always take what he wanted. Yet Daniel was different. His silence was driving her mad. Was it because she was alien? Was it because she was small or broken? The tension filled the room like smoke. Daniel opened his mouth, but no words came. He closed it again, his thoughts colliding. He wanted to explain, but he also feared his answer would hurt her. Lyra's eyes shone with hurt. Her voice grew sharper. "Do you not see me? Do you not want me?" Her blanket slipped completely to the ground, leaving her exposed under the faint glow. She wanted him to look at her, to see her as more than just a burden. Daniel clenched his fists. His breath came heavy. He did see her. He saw her every moment, every step, every glance. She had become a part of his world, but he had sworn to himself never to be like the others, never to take advantage of someone who had already suffered too much. Yet now, facing her trembling form and her desperate question, he felt the weight of his silence crushing them both. He looked into her eyes. He saw not just confusion but longing, not just anger but fear of being unwanted. The fire crackled between them. The only sound in the silence, Daniel's answer hung unspoken, and Lyra's heart pounded with dread. Suspense filled the air. The moment balanced on the edge of something that could change everything. Would he finally speak the truth? Or would his silence destroy what fragile bond they had built in this strange shelter? The silence between them stretched until it hurt. Daniel sat frozen, his eyes locked on Lyra. She stood there, her blanket at her feet, her face lit by the dim blue glow of the alien sky. Her voice still echoed in his mind. "It's been a month, human. Why haven't you taken me yet?" Daniel's heart pounded. He wanted to speak, but the words tangled on his tongue. He had fought soldiers, faced storms, and walked through fire, but this one question struck him harder than all of it. Lyra's. Hands curled into fists, her body trembled, yet her eyes never left his. She had lived too long under chains, too long being told she had no worth. For the first time she was asking, no, demanding, to be seen. Tell me, she whispered, her voice cracking. Do you find me ugly? Do you hate me because I am not like you? Daniel's jaw tightened. He rose slowly to his feet. His shadows stretched across the firelight. He looked at her, really looked. She was small compared to him, fragile in some ways, yet her presence filled the room. Her dark eyes shimmered with both anger and sadness. I don't hate you, he said at last. His voice was low, steady, but filled with struggle. And you are not ugly. You are more than you know. Lyra blinked, confusion flickering across her face. Then why? She asked sharply. Why do you avoid me? Why do you never touch me? Not even once. A whole month, human. A whole month, and you keep your distance. Her. Words stabbed at him. Daniel swallowed hard. He wanted to tell her the truth, that every time he saw her, he battled himself. He wanted to hold her, but he feared becoming like the men who had once caged her. He wanted her, but not in a way that would make her feel owned. He took a step closer. His eyes softened. Lyra, where I come from. Closeness is a choice. It is not something to demand, it is not something to take without permission. Lyra's lips parted slightly. Her breath caught. A choice, she repeated. The word felt foreign to her tongue. In her world, choice had been stolen. From her since birth, Daniel nodded. His voice grew firmer. Yes, a choice. I did not come here to chain you again. I came here to protect you. If I touched you without your will, I would be no different than the ones who hurt you before. Her chest rose and fell quickly. Anger still flickered in her. But beneath it was something else. Something she had never known. Doubt. Could it be true that this human wanted nothing from her? Could it be true that he was holding back not because she was worthless, but because she mattered? Yet her voice grew sharp again, driven by her own fear. But what if I want it? What if I want you? Her words shook the air like a strike of thunder. Her small frame trembled, but her eyes burned. Daniel froze again. His heart raced. He searched her face for truth. She was not teasing him, not testing him. She was serious, desperate. He felt the ground shift beneath him. He clenched his jaw. He could not answer easily. To admit his feelings now might shatter her fragile trust, but to stay silent would break her heart even more. The fire hissed softly. Shadows danced, and the night pressed close around them. For a long moment, neither spoke. The weight of her question pressed down heavier than chains. Daniel's breath was uneven. Lyra's fists loosened slowly at her sides. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. Finally, Daniel stepped back, his voice heavy with restraint. You don't understand what you're asking, Lyra. To me, this is not something to rush. It's not just about a month or a day. It's about meaning. Lyra's face twisted in pain. She felt his words as rejection. She turned away quickly, her body tense. Meaning, she spat bitterly. What meaning is there if you will not even look at me? Her voice cracked as she grabbed her blanket and stormed toward the door. Daniel reached out a hand but stopped himself. The words he wanted to say died in his throat. Outside, the night wind roared, carrying her footsteps into the darkness. Daniel stood alone in the shelter, his heart burning. He knew she misunderstood, but how could he explain to someone who had never known freedom? The fire behind him sputtered, casting long shadows on the walls. He clenched his fists, whispering to himself, Lyra, I do want you, but not like they did. I can't lose you this way. But she was already gone. The silence returned, heavier than ever before, and far in the distance, unseen by either of them, something else stirred in the dark woods, watching, waiting for its chance. Daniel stood frozen in the silence after Lyra's footsteps vanished into the night. The fire crackled weakly, its glow fading just as the warmth inside him was fading too. He had never imagined that his silence, his restraint, would drive her away. He had thought he was protecting her, but maybe he had only built a wall she could not cross. He grabbed his jacket and stepped outside. The alien night pressed close around him. A sky filled with strange stars stretched above, and the air carried the scent of damp soil and wild plants. He listened carefully. Her steps had been light, but he could still hear the faint crunch of grass in the distance. "Lyra," he called, softly. His voice carried into the darkness, but no answer came. He clenched his fists. He had to find her. He had to explain. He could not let her believe she was unwanted. As he walked deeper into the trees, memories rose in his mind. He remembered the night he had first found her, chained and trembling, her eyes filled with fear. He had promised himself then that he would never let anyone treat her like that again, not even himself. That was why he had held back. That was why he kept his distance. But she did not see it as care. She saw it as rejection. His chest tightened. He finally understood the truth. Words mattered as much as actions, and he had been silent for too long. Lyra moved quickly through the woods. Her bare feet brushed against the cold ground. Her blanket clung to her shoulders. Her heart raced. She could still hear Daniel's voice in her head, calm and distant, speaking about meaning. The words stung her. To her, meaning had always been decided by others. She had never been given the right to choose, and now when she finally offered herself freely, he had stepped away. Tears burned her eyes. She felt small, unwanted, invisible. Maybe humans were no different after all. She pressed her back against a tree, breathing hard. She thought of going farther, of leaving completely, but something inside her pulled her back. His face, his eyes, the way he fought for her life. He was different. She knew it. But his silence was killing her hope. Sudden rustle in the bushes made her spin. Her breath caught. She thought for a moment it might be Daniel, but the sound was heavier, rougher. The shadows moved in a way that made her skin crawl. She stepped back, her heart thundering. Daniel was close now. He heard the sound too. His instincts sharpened. He moved faster, weaving between the trees. His voice rose, "Lyra, wait. Don't go farther, it's dangerous." But Lyra did not answer. She was frozen, staring into the darkness where glowing eyes stared back at her. Daniel burst through the trees and saw her standing stiff with fear. His eyes darted to the shadows. Figures were emerging, tall, armed, their voices low and cruel. Raiders. His gut twisted. They must have been watching, waiting for a chance. One of them hissed in a strange tongue, another laughed. Their eyes fixed on Lyra, not on him. Daniel stepped forward, his voice hard. "Leave her," the raiders sneered. They saw only one human, tired and alone. To them, he was nothing, but Daniel's stance was firm. His hand gripped the knife at his side, his eyes burned with fire. Lyra looked at him with wide eyes. She had thought his silence meant rejection, but now she saw the truth in his gaze. Fierce, protective, unyielding. Daniel's voice dropped low as he spoke, words meant for her alone. "Lyra, I never ignored you. I never refused you. I only wanted you to have a choice. You are not a thing to take. You are someone I want to protect." Her breath caught. The words pierced her heart. She finally heard the answer she had been waiting for. But the moment was shattered. As the raiders closed in, Daniel pushed her behind him, his knife gleaming, faintly in the dark. His body tensed like a drawn bow. "Stay behind me," he whispered. The raiders grinned, thinking they would crush him quickly, but they did not know what fury a human carried when protecting someone he loved. The night air grew heavy. The danger pressed closer. Lyra's question still lingered in her heart, but Daniel's answer had lit a fire inside her, a fire of hope, a fire of fear. The fight was about to begin, and everything between them, her question, his answer, their fragile bond, would be tested in blood and fire. The forest was alive with danger. Shadows shifted and strange voices echoed between the trees. Lyra clung to the edge of Daniel's jacket, her heart beating so loud she thought the raiders could hear it. Daniel stood in front of her like a wall, his body tense, his knife catching the faint glow of the alien moon. The raiders moved closer, 6 of them, armed with crude spears and jagged blades. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dark, hungry and cruel. They did not look at Daniel with fear. They looked at Lyra like she was prey. One of the raiders hissed, "Give her to us, human. She is worth more than your life. Walk away and live." Daniel's jaw tightened. He shook his head slowly. "She's not yours," he said firmly. His voice was calm, but his stance was ready. Every muscle in his body coiled like a spring. The raiders laughed, harsh and cold. They spread out, circling. Lyra's hands trembled as she pressed closer to Daniel's back. She whispered, "Daniel." "There are too many," he whispered back without turning. "Stay behind me, no matter what. I promised I'd keep you safe." Her chest tightened. Her fear battled with something else. Trust. She wanted to believe him, but 6 armed raiders against 1 human felt impossible. The first raider lunged. His spear sliced the air toward Daniel's chest. Daniel moved fast, faster than Lyra had ever seen. He ducked, twisted, and drove his knife upward into the raider's arm. The spear clattered to the ground. The raider screamed. The others growled and rushed. Daniel grabbed the spear and spun it, his movements sharp and desperate. Wood cracked against bone as he struck another across the face. The forest exploded with chaos. Lyra's eyes widened. She had seen battles before, but never like this. Daniel fought with fury, not for glory, not for pride, but for her. Every strike, every block, every step was to keep her behind him, alive. Yet the raiders were many. One of them slipped past Daniel and reached for her. Lyra gasped. She stumbled back, but a rough hand caught her arm, pulling her forward. "Daniel!" she cried out. Daniel spun, rage blazing in his eyes. He drove the spear like a storm, piercing the raider's chest. The alien dropped, releasing her. Daniel yanked her back into his arms, his breath heavy. "I told you, behind me," he growled. He nodded quickly, tears in her eyes. She saw the blood on his arm, a deep cut from a blade, but he did not stop. He could not stop. The fight raged on. The forest echoed with shouts, steel clashing against wood. Daniel's body burned with pain. But he fought harder. Every time he fell back, he rose again. His human strength and fury were relentless. The last 2 raiders looked at each other, fear finally flashing in their eyes. Daniel stood before them, bloody and battered, but unbroken. He raised the spear, his chest rising and falling. "Leave," he warned. They snarled but did not move forward. Instead, they hissed curses and melted back into the trees. The night swallowed them. Silence returned, broken only by Daniel's ragged breaths. He dropped the spear and fell to one knee. Lyra rushed to him. Her hands shook as she touched his wounded arm, blood seeping between her fingers. "Why," she whispered, "why risk all this? You could have walked away. You could have left me." Daniel looked at her, his face pale but his eyes fierce. "Because you are not something to be traded, not something to be taken. You are worth everything." Her breath caught. She felt her chest tighten with something stronger than fear. His words sank deep. His fight was not just against raiders. It was against the very chains that had bound her all her life. She pressed her forehead to his shoulder, her voice trembling. "You're a fool, Daniel." He managed a faint smile. "Maybe, but you're my reason to fight." The fire of battle was gone, but the storm between them was only beginning. The night was not over. The raiders might return, and Lyra's heart still held questions that no blade could answer. As she held him, the forest grew silent again. But in that silence, both of them knew. Something had changed forever. The forest floor was wet with blood and broken branches. Daniel knelt on one knee, gripping his wounded arm. Lyra hovered close, her hands trembling as she tried to stop the bleeding. The night was thick with the smell of iron and smoke, but there was no time to rest. From the distance, the sound of harsh laughter rose again. The raiders had not truly fled. They had only pulled back to gather more strength. Shadows moved between the trees, and Lyra's heart dropped. "Daniel," she whispered, fear choking her voice. "They're coming back, more of them." Daniel's eyes lifted, dark and sharp. He stood, blood dripping from his arm, His body screamed with pain, but his fury burned hotter. He had held back before. He had fought with restraint. But now the thought of them touching her again ignited a fire inside him. "They won't take you," he said, his voice low. His hand tightened around the spear. "Not while I still breathe." Lyra grabbed his arm. "But you're hurt, you can't fight them all." Daniel looked at her, his chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. "I don't need to fight them all. I just need to make them fear me enough to never try again." The raiders appeared, more than before, 10 this time. Their jagged weapons gleamed under the alien moonlight. They moved with confidence, expecting an easy victory. But Daniel stepped forward, his stance steady, his fury clear. "Human, give her up," one growled. "She is ours." "You cannot win." Daniel's lips curved into something between a snarl and a smile. "Then come and try," he answered. The raiders surged. Their shouts filled the night. Daniel roared back, a sound that shook even Lyra to her core. He charged into them with a speed and ferocity that no one expected. The first raider swung low, but Daniel caught the blade on the shaft of the spear, twisting and slamming the end into the raider's jaw. Bone cracked. Another lunged, and Daniel spun, his knife flashing, cutting across the alien's chest. Every strike was fueled by rage. Not wild, reckless rage, but focused fury. He was no longer a man merely defending. He was a storm, and the raiders were caught in it. Lyra could only watch. Her breath caught in her throat. She had seen many fights in her life, but never like this. Daniel fought not for land or gold, but for her. His anger was not selfish. It was the fury of a man who refused to lose what he swore to protect. The raiders began to falter. Their confidence cracked. Fear slid into their eyes. They had thought humans were weak, but this one moved like fire, unstoppable, unyielding. One raider managed to slice Daniel's leg. He stumbled, but instead of falling, he used the momentum, ramming his shoulder into the alien's chest and driving him into the ground. Daniel's roar echoed as he struck again and again, until the raider stopped moving. Lyra cried out, "Daniel, enough, you'll kill yourself." Her voice cut through his fury for a moment. He turned, sweat and blood dripping, his chest heaved, his eyes burned. "If I stop, they'll take you," he said. The remaining raiders hesitated. 2 stepped back, muttering in their tongue. They had not expected this, not from one wounded human. Daniel took a step forward, spear raised high. His voice boomed across the clearing. "Go or face the same fate." The forest grew silent. The raiders exchanged uneasy looks. Slowly, they retreated, their eyes never leaving the furious human. And then they vanished into the trees. Swallowed by the dark, Daniel stood shaking, his fury still hot in his veins. He dropped the spear and fell to his knees. His breath ragged, Lyra rushed to him, catching his shoulders before he collapsed. Her eyes shone with tears. "Why do you keep doing this, Daniel? Why risk everything for me?" He looked at her, his vision blurred, but his voice steady. "Because you are not a prize for them. You are not a slave. You are my reason." Her breath caught. She pressed her forehead against his, her voice a whisper. "Then let me be your strength too." The forest was quiet again, but the night was not safe. Both of them knew the raiders could return with even greater numbers. Yet in that moment, Lyra saw Daniel not just as her protector, but as something more. Her human, her answer, her fury. The bond between them was no longer hidden in silence. It had been forged in blood, fire, and unbreakable resolve. The night was heavy with silence after the raiders disappeared into the trees. Daniel sat against a fallen log, his chest rising and falling with uneven breaths. Blood stained his clothes, his arm and leg burned with pain, but his eyes stayed locked on Lyra. She knelt beside him, her small hands trembling as she tried to bind his wounds with strips of cloth. Her face was tight with worry, yet beneath her, fear there was something else, a question still burning in her heart. "You should have left me," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Why fight until your body breaks? Why bleed for me?" Daniel's lips curled into a weak smile. "Because I gave you my word," he said slowly. "And because you are not a burden, not a thing to throw away, you matter more than my pain." Lyra's throat tightened, her hands stilled on his wound. She searched his face, desperate for truth. "But why do you never take what I offer?" she asked. Her eyes glistened in the faint light. "Every other man would have, every other man did. They did not ask, they just took. But you wait. You turn away. Do you not want me, Daniel?" His chest ached more from her words than from his wounds. He reached up with his uninjured hand and touched her wrist gently. His voice was hoarse but steady. "I do want you, Lyra. More than you know. But not like they did. Not because you feel you must give yourself. I want you to choose freely, without fear." Her breath caught. The word choose struck her like a thunderbolt. Choice had never been hers. Not once. Not until now she had been given, sold, used, but never asked, never respected. "You want me to choose?" she whispered, almost in disbelief. Daniel nodded. "Yes, because I don't want a slave. I want someone who stays because she wants to, not because she has nowhere else to go." Tears spilled down her cheeks. She pressed her forehead against his chest. Her voice trembled. "All this time I thought you didn't want me. I thought I wasn't enough. But it was never rejection. It was respect." Daniel's hand brushed through her hair, his voice soft. "You are enough. More than enough. That's why I waited. That's why I fought them. Not because you are mine, but because you should belong only to yourself." Her heart pounded wildly. The truth unfolded inside her, raw and sharp. He was not like the others. He was not like her people. He was not like the raiders. He was human. Different. Strange. But full of something she had never known before. Hope. She pulled back to look at him, her eyes wide, her lips trembling. "Then if I choose you, Daniel, if I say I want you, not because of duty but because of my heart, what would you do?" His gaze locked on hers, the firelight reflected in his tired eyes. "Then I would hold you as mine, not as a possession, but as a partner." Her chest tightened. She had never been given such power before. Her choice had never mattered, yet here, in this dark forest with danger all around, she felt stronger than ever. She realized Daniel had not been pushing her away. He had been waiting for her. The night grew quiet, the wind carrying only the sound of leaves rustling. For the first time, Lyra felt no chains on her body, no weight on her soul. She leaned closer, her hands gripping his shoulders. "Then I choose you," she whispered fiercely. "Not because I am told, not because I am afraid, but because I want you." Daniel's heart pounded. His arms wrapped around her gently, pulling her against him. His pain did not matter. His wounds did not matter. What mattered was the trembling truth in her words. Lyra closed her eyes, tears spilling. But they were not tears of shame. They were tears of freedom, of love, of finally being seen. For the first time in her life, she had spoken a choice that belonged only to her, and Daniel had given her the strength to do it. But even as warmth spread between them, the forest beyond still whispered with threats. The raiders were gone, but danger never truly vanished. Tomorrow would bring more trials, more shadows. Yet tonight, in the glow of the dying fire, a bond stronger than chains had been revealed. The truth was no longer hidden. It burned between them, undeniable, unbreakable. The forest grew quiet again. The glow of the dying fire flickered across Daniel's face as he leaned back against the fallen log. His wounds were bandaged now, thanks to Lyra's careful hands. Yet it was not his injuries that weighed most on his heart. It was the choice Lyra had just spoken. She sat close beside him, her small frame pressed against his side. Her eyes shimmered with both exhaustion and determination. For so long she had been treated as nothing, but tonight she had declared her own will. Her voice still echoed in his. "Mind, I choose you." Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to believe it. He wanted to hold on to it. But part of him feared it was only the moment, only desperation after a night of blood and danger. He turned to her slowly, his voice low. "Lyra, do you mean it truly? Even if tomorrow brings safety, even if you could walk away, would you still choose me?" Her eyes widened. She looked at him for a long moment, silent, Then she reached out, taking his hand in both of hers. Her grip was firm. "I mean it, Daniel, not because you saved me, not because you fought for me, but because you saw me. You gave me something no one else ever did. You gave me freedom." His throat tightened. He wanted to answer, but words felt too small. Instead, he pulled her gently into his arms. She rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. It was strong, alive, real. For a time, they sat in silence. The forest whispered around them. The danger seemed far away. For the first time, peace settled over them like a fragile blanket, but peace never lasted long. From the distance came the faint howl of a beast. Lyra stiffened, her body tense. Daniel's arm tightened around her. "We'll move at first light," he murmured. "We can't stay here, it's too exposed." She nodded, but she did not move from his embrace. The thought of leaving the shelter, the fire, the place where she had finally spoken her truth, made her chest ache, but she knew he was right. The world was not safe. Not yet. She looked up at him, her eyes shining in the firelight. "Will you still want me when the danger is gone, Daniel? When I am no longer something to protect, when I am just me?" His gaze met hers, steady and unshaken. "Lyra, I don't want you because of danger. I don't want you because you need saving. I want you because you're you, and that will never change." Her lips trembled. Her heart raced. His words struck deeper than any blade. For once in her life, she believed them. She believed him. She leaned closer, her voice soft. "Then let it be my choice now. Not tomorrow, not later, now." Daniel's breath caught. His hand lifted to brush her cheek. Her skin was warm beneath his rough fingers. He searched her eyes, making sure, absolutely sure, that this was her will. Not fear, not duty, but choice. And, when he saw the fire of certainty in her gaze, he nodded. His voice dropped into a whisper. "Then I choose you too." Her chest swelled. Her tears fell, but they were not tears of sorrow. They were tears of release, of joy, of finally belonging. She wrapped her arms around him, holding him tightly. For the first time, the silence between them was no longer heavy. It was no longer a wall, it was comfort, it was peace. The fire burned low, the stars turned overhead, and the night carried them into a new beginning. They had faced blood, fury, and fear, but in the end, it was not the fight that bound them. It was the choice, a human who waited, and an alien who finally understood what it meant to decide for herself. And together, in that fragile moment, they chose each other.